94.4 Fan Zone.
This is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan Upstate.
Well, it's time to talk to Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News. She joins the show every Wednesday at this time, and we absolutely love talking Gamecocks with Lulu. Lulu, I want to start with a big picture football question. South Carolina not having a spring game this year, obviously due to the renovations happening at Williams-Brice Stadium. I want you to look into your Magic 8 Ball. Spring games, a lot of people are saying might be a thing of the past, Lulu. Will South Carolina ever have another spring game in football?
First of all, thanks for always, having me back.
Sure.
And I definitely think so. I think it's something that Shane Beamer likes. I assume as long as Shane Beamer's the coach, there'll be a spring game, obviously, this year with the renovations. It's a little interesting, but I think that even though some schools started to kind of cancel them, and like you said, some believe it's a thing of the past, I think it's still something that South Carolina seems really passionate about, and I imagine will return once the stadium is, allowed to have people in it.
Lulu, can you tell us if there are any developments? We talked about this probably 3 weeks ago or so. George Lee, the Gamecock Club member that's suing the club and suing South Carolina, essentially for taking away the physical bit of space that he represented, that he had a lifetime membership to there at Williams-Brice Stadium. Have there been any developments in that over the last 2 weeks?
I'm honestly, I'll admit, not the best person to ask about that, only because in some ways my mind has been so wrapped up in the basketball world. But I will shout out another writer and say that Ben Portnoy from Sports Business Journal has done a really good job following that. And I kind of have been late on catching up on his work in that regard too. So I'll be transparent that I haven't heard anything major in the last 2 weeks. I do know that though.
Lulu, with there being no spring game, for those Gamecock fans in the upstate, obviously they're following along with you and others. We heard from the assistants a couple of days ago, including the new offensive line coach and Shane Beamer yesterday. What do you think the biggest story is? And if it's more than one, that's okay. But for those that aren't going to see a spring game, what's the biggest story, the biggest news right now regarding Gamecock football as we would be nearing a spring game if it weren't for the construction?
Right. Well, I think the biggest thing that people would want to know in the spring game was, okay, who is starting on the offensive line, especially after losing some tackles to injury. I think the biggest question mark in terms of formations that have not been really that clear in the very few glimpses of practice we've seen, it's okay, who is going to be protecting Lenora Sellers this year? Shane said yesterday that he's being honest when he says, he wouldn't even know if, the spring game was tomorrow, and he said, okay, here are the first 5 just because of how much they've been rotating in different formations and things like that. So I think overall that's probably what people are most curious about. And I imagine, towards the summer with no spring game, there'll be some clarity there. But obviously Shane is one who really doesn't like a depth chart, really doesn't like to sit here and say, here are the starters, here are the first 5, 6 months or however long away from the season opener, we are. But I think overall that's something. And then obviously Dylan Stewart just needs rest with his back injury, and that's something that I feel like people, are either forgetting about or just, that Shane keeps clarifying right now the best point of recovery, or I guess method of recovery, is just giving him some time to rest. And so I'm not surprised that he hasn't been able to practice yet, because seemingly, he doesn't need to push it right now, in my opinion, and it makes sense that they're allowing him to fully rest if that's what needs to happen.
Lulu, as we brought up some of the coaching changes at Clemson, the word intensity really has ramped up there. What can you tell us about that on the same side of things at South Carolina? Kendall Briles, Randy Clements, who seems like a really intense guy, Stan Drayton as well, and the others. How would you characterize the intensity level of the coaches so far now that they're, I guess, legitimately a couple of months on the job?
Yeah, obviously, like you said, it's early, but I think it's sort of the intensity level that was needed. And I'm not, we're not at every practice. We don't know everything, but I think when there's so many pre-snap penalties, that goes to discipline. And I think there needed to be some change in the voice, in the type of coaching method in the offensive line room. And Shane kind of hinted at that last year after he fired Lonnie. And so I'm not surprised that he went with somebody that, is a little bit more of a Sean Elliott level of intensity type of thing. Something that we saw when Sean Elliott sort of, I guess, closed the season coaching the offensive line. But I think with Kendall, it's a different personality than Shula. It's a different personality than Dowell Loggins, but he's obviously experienced and he's been around a bunch of different type of athletes and a bunch of different type of people and programs. And I think that he sort of is balancing out the Shane Beamer high level intensity, where I think that Kendall probably, or certainly demands excellence, but sort of seems a little bit less animated. And that might be exactly what this, offensive unit needs.
Lulu, let's switch over to the not cover Kings, but cover Queens as South Carolina. I don't know that I can recall 2-point spreads that equaled what the Gamecocks did in those first two games. Just massive point spreads. But guess what? No problemo for the Queens, I guess, the cover Queens, if you will, when it comes to South Carolina. Do you read too much into those first two games, or do you really just simplify it by saying, hey, they were the much better team, and we'll really find out, like we talked about a couple of weeks ago with you, when we get closer now to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight?
I kind of do give a little bit to the second game, and that's because I think South Carolina came out last year in the first round and played really well. And then I think they kind of dropped the ball a little bit in the second round and never really recovered until the Final Four. And so I put a lot of weight into how South Carolina performed against Southern Cal, but obviously the Sweet 16 game with Oklahoma, that matchup, there's a lot more to it, and I will probably weigh that matchup a little bit more in my mind. But as of now, I was very much like, this team, it's going to be obvious, how they perform down the line based on that second game, and they definitely checked a lot of boxes there.
Lulu, what are your thoughts on the way the women's tournament, is organized, where it's sort of geography based? I asked that question because, there was audio yesterday, the day before, of the Syracuse coach really complaining about being stuck in the UConn bracket all the time. Like, it's a good thing because it allows fans to show up to a venue that's nearer to them, but also it does potentially put you in a situation where you got to go face the same really, really tough team year in and year out. So your general reaction to what the Syracuse coach had to say, is that the best way to do it, or would mirroring what the men's game does, where it kind of sends teams all over the country, would that be detrimental in your mind to the game?
I think right now it wouldn't be, and I think Kim Mulkey, I'll agree with Kim Mulkey. I think she made a point maybe 1 or 2 years ago that, more, if you have more than just 2 regional sites, you're bringing in a lot more money. And I think that would be really good for where women's college basketball is at. And with the Syracuse coach, I understand the frustration, but I also think, in some ways you can say, like, to be the best, you have to beat the best, right? You can't get annoyed that UConn is the stellar program continuously beating you. But at the same time, with NIL and rev share, things are so different now. And it's really hard for some of these programs to maintain players with the transfer portal. Everyone wants to go, where they're going to make the most money. And so it is really hard for some of these not that Syracuse is a lower level school, but sort of these basketball programs that are a little bit smaller to maintain success right now. And I understand the frustration when, Syracuse is trying to do a lot with a little opportunity. And when you're constantly running into a program that is going to have number 1 recruits left and right, it's difficult to kind of maintain that success necessary where your program is able to recruit off of that.
Lulu, does it surprise you, given the history with Oklahoma during the regular season, to see South Carolina favored by 20-plus points?
I saw that yesterday. A little bit, but at the same time, I think a lot of people know that this is going to be in a really emotionally charged game for everyone on South Carolina. Dawn Staley, obviously, last year she lost to UConn twice, but she's not a coach that, continuously likes to say, we just can't beat that team. She likes to correct and things like that. And I think a lot of South Carolina players really hated how they played. Like, it wasn't even just, we lost by 2 or something like that. Like, they really were mad about the way they all individually performed. And I think when you have a team that is connecting well and super angry, I imagine that's sort of where the spread is right now, is they're looking at, okay, this is a South Carolina team that's really upset about how the first meeting went down.
Lulu, from what you know about Raven Johnson, how is she going to use the snub, if you want to call it that, for not being named a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year? going forward in this tournament? Will she let it fuel her, or is she block all that extra distraction out and just go play?
I think she's generally more the latter. That's probably the most impressive thing about Raven Johnson is her mental strength and her ability to block out. I mean, she, a couple years ago, was probably like one of the most hated athletes online, and she was pretty candid about that, but it was after the fact and how she learned from it and blocked it out and things like that. And she's been snubbed year after year, in my opinion. I know that she would probably agree in some ways, and it's nothing new, but at the same time, like, all she's focused on is winning a national championship, and she knows that, this is her last go around. And I think anything can fuel Raven Johnson right now, but at the same time, I think she's pretty much fueling herself. I don't think she needs all that much.
Lulu, I know you cover South Carolina in depth, but with it being here in state, what were your thoughts on how that Clemson Southern Cal game ended? When the NCAA has to issue a statement for a postseason game, that's not always a great thing. I know you saw it. I don't know if you saw it live or not, but it's one of those events that we don't see many times where it really does come down to a judgment call. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, that was crazy. I did watch it live. It was hilarious. I was sitting next to Dawn Staley, who was looking at it on her iPad, telling us what the broadcast was saying, because my spot on press row was right next to Scout. And I think there's certainly an argument for the foul. Like, I haven't been able to, most of what I've seen online agrees with that. I think it's an incredibly heartbreaking way to end a season. And it's the hardest part about covering March Madness is you see people's sort of dreams get crushed in the span of seconds. But at the same time, I think Southern Cal was incredibly poised in overtime, and unfortunately, you never want to let anything come down to one play. And I know when it works out in March Madness, that's what makes it so great. You think about the most amazing buzzer beaters, but sometimes you also, it doesn't work out, and you don't ever want to leave it into the ref or a clock or anything like that.
Oklahoma beat South Carolina earlier this season. Now they're favored by 17.5. The Gamecocks are on Saturday at 5 o'clock. What has to happen to make sure they don't go home and lose again to Oklahoma?
Transition defense and making layups. Those are two things. Like, I don't want to sit here and say that it was Oklahoma did nothing to beat South Carolina. It was South Carolina beating themselves. But South Carolina missed, I think, 16 or 17 layups. And those were like bunnies open. It was a really bad game for Medina to Nialassen. They have to be a lot better, but Oklahoma is one of the fastest teams in the country. Like, quite literally, even on a made basket, they're sprinting down the floor and will beat you even if you think that you're prepared for it. So South Carolina did not defend well in transition, and that sort of was the name of the game in the first half, and that absolutely needs to change. And, fundamentals. The loss the first time was just a lack of good habits and a lack of fundamentals, and I think that needs to get cleaned up, and the rest will sort of sort itself out.
Lulu, you are the best. As always, we appreciate you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
You too. That's Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News. Great stuff, as always. And anytime you have to play a team twice, how many times do we talk about it, Diesel? Playing a team twice. How do you beat a team twice if you're Oklahoma? There's the mantra of, hey, well, you beat them once, you can beat them again. But to see Diesel this point spread at 20-plus points, yeah. I thought that was maybe a little too many points where the Gamecocks were laying 20-plus points against Oklahoma.
Yeah, 17.5 now, so it's moved a little bit, I guess. But
yeah, it has. That's interesting, by the way.
Obviously, these coaches and these players, they know how to block this kind of stuff out. But when you see big spreads like that, it's hard not to think back to that first game and say, oh, that was just a fluke, right? It shouldn't have happened. But it did happen, right? Like she said, Oklahoma did great things to win that game, and South Carolina had deficiencies in that game, and it cost them. So, I think you got to use that as fuel to prove, like, hey, we are 17.5 points better than this Oklahoma team. They beat us. Now we're going to go out there and prove that we are the team that the country thinks we are.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Before we hit the Daily Wires real quick, Diesel, a piece of local news. I did tweet it out about an hour ago locally for those that do follow local high school basketball. Some big news today. One of the big-time Spartanburg County basketball jobs is now open. Zach Rich, former Dorman assistant coach, has resigned as the head basketball coach at Spartanburg, and from what I've gathered, is heading back to Dorman to rejoin Thomas Ryan as an assistant coach. So the Spartanburg Vikings now looking for a head boys basketball coach. That was just about an hour ago. So a big-time job here locally that will now be open.
Tolos, in case you hadn't seen this yet, we are back now live online on streaming on Facebook, Twitter, and on YouTube. We had to cut the stream to get Melissa Level on, just kind of a limitation of the equipment that we have here on location. But we are back streaming again. So if you were streaming the show earlier, jump back in. Let's get the conversation going again. When we come back, Cole will whip around the sports world, see what all else is going on with our Daily Wires. So much to get to. Cole, let's go rapid fire. These are our daily wires. The buzz happening around the sports world for the third time under Eric Bakich. Clemson baseball has now lost 4 games in a row. How about that? Clemson falling to Coastal Carolina last night, 11-9. The Chanticleers were down 9-3, 8 runs in the final 3 innings for a huge comeback win. And man, that resume for Kevin Schnall just keeps looking better and better, doesn't it?
Well, you know what? I mean, yes, it does to answer that on the Coastal side, but from the Clemson perspective, and we'll talk to Tony Schufo later on in the show, actually in the 522 segment, who served as color commentator last night. He had a son that played at Clemson, very plugged into the Clemson program. We'll ask him his opinion at 522, but man, Clemson unraveling last night the way they did. Yeah, you give credit to Coastal, but Diesel, my God, that was embarrassing last night from Clemson. Very embarrassing.
That's just a total failure on the late inning pitching for Clemson. Just unbelievable. In case you missed it, Cole, if you hadn't seen this number yet, 26.6 million men's brackets were created on ESPN.com. That is a record for the 4th straight year. They said that people were creating 765 brackets per second.
That is insane. Tell me that the Super Bowl is bigger than March Madness. There's no way. This is the biggest sporting event of the year. I love it. I absolutely love it.
It's true. South Carolina fell to North Carolina last night, Cole. So it's no sunshine and rainbows down in Columbia either. They fell to North Carolina 9-1 in Charlotte. 1-2 as the head coach is Monty Lee for the Gamecocks. I guess it's time for him to go ahead and get fired as well.
Yeah, might as well just go ahead and fire everybody, right? You can respect that. You can a very good North Carolina team. I don't think it mattered who was coaching last night. If the best was coaching that club last night. I think North Carolina was just simply the better team last night.
Reports broke earlier today that Kansas head coach Bill Self was retiring. Bill has since come out and said, wait a minute, what? He says those were rumors that were just bad info. He says he's undecided on his future with the Jayhawks.
That's interesting. Undecided.
It's still not an answer, though.
Still not an answer. It leans toward he's done, right? You would think.
Florida is attempting to sign Todd Golden, who's already the 5th highest paid coach in college basketball, to another extension to stave off blue blood programs like North Carolina, who may come calling. Todd Golden has received extensions and raises each of his last 2 off seasons. So every year, Cole, just a new contract and more money. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, and that buyout, man, is just way too much. I know that's a pipe dream for a lot of North Carolina fans, but Todd Golden ain't leaving Florida. He's not. He's not leaving Florida. And I think it's a $16 million buyout last I looked.
It's unbelievable. Cole, here is the textbook definition of bureaucracy and far too many unnecessary steps. After all 30 NBA owners voted in favor of exploring Las Vegas and Seattle as expansion candidates, the NBA's Board of Governors approved the vote for the league to explore bids and applications for expansion teams exclusively in Las Vegas and Seattle. So they've already said yes to looking at these 2 cities. Now they're going to do a vote to talk about possible expansion, but only an exclusive subset of expansion. How many layers, how many times does it take to make a decision?
That is interesting. That really is. We'll see. We'll see.
Long Island Spirits Incorporated is suing Live Golf for trademark infringement. The vodka distillery is asking the court to stop Live Golf from using Live in connection with the sales of alcohol or apparel and pay punitive damages for misuse of Live trademark. Long Island Spirits has held multiple registered and common law variations of the Live trademark since 2007. This is the 3rd time that Live Golf has been sued for trademark infringement.
You hear me crying about it, right?
I know.
You hear me upset about it.
Do your homework, Live Golf. Find out if anybody holds these trademarks before you start putting Live on everything.
Love it. It's bad, though, with March Madness, too, man. I was driving through town today, and I saw a sign, somebody advertising their business with March. It's illegal.
Yeah.
We can't say March Madness in an ad. People don't know.
Right. It's tricky. Like, we can say March Madness, but we can't say March Madness in connection with any other promotion.
Yeah.
The Saints quarterback room got a little more full, Cole, after the team signed Zach Wilson to a 1-year deal. Are you excited if you're a Saints fan about adding Zach?
No, absolutely not. Oh, it's a warm body. It's a warm body is all it is.
You got to be excited about this as you are a newly forged Charlotte Hornets fan. They absolutely obliterated the awful Sacramento Kings last night, 134-90. They're now 4 games over 500. They'll host the really good Knicks tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, that'll be tough. But they covered the spread last night, and they continue to climb up in the Eastern Conference standings, Diesel, and they're still in the play-in tournament, I guess, right now is the 9 seed in the East. But, hey, better than what they were.
Ram star Puka Nacua is facing legal action after a woman accused him of making anti-Semitic remarks and biting her during a New Year's Eve night out. The woman filed for a restraining order against Puka, claiming that he terrorized her and threatened to tarnish her reputation in the media. The court has a scheduled hearing for April 14th to investigate farther.
Man, he took that "you are what you eat" a little too far, didn't he? I mean, geez, what are we doing?
And finally, Cole, I love this. The espresso machine that was inside of Italy's dugout during the World Baseball Classic has gone to auction and has fetched a hefty price. The espresso machine was paid for with $16,510. A famous espresso machine, most expensive espresso machine ever, maybe? I don't know, but that's I can't tell if that's awesome or really stupid.
That's a lot for an espresso machine, but some white woman out there probably would, I mean, I don't know. They probably wouldn't even know it was an MLB espresso machine, right?
That's great.
Diesel, let's get into Hubert Davis, the biggest story of the day. Oh, my gosh, if you're a North Carolina fan, want to hear from you, we'll dive into it. Who should be the next guy at North Carolina? That's Well, everyone's asking who North Carolina will now go get, but no one's asking who's going to go get Hubert Davis. Could one school in the SEC pony up and say, hey, you know what? I know we're located in little old Columbia, South Carolina, but I want Hubert Davis as my next basketball coach. Welcome into Wire to Wire, hour number 3 on this Hump Day edition of the show. Sorry, Tolos, my voice still sounds worse than it normally always does, but I think the pollen is, I guess, just serenading in my lungs now, Diesel. I don't know that there's any escaping, but I've been sneezing all day, coughing all day. I do apologize as I, got the sniffles on the air. I sound terrible. I know that, but my gosh, I don't know that you can escape the pollen right now.
This is that time of year where we see that meme or that GIF all over the place. It's like a Leland cypress tree. Somebody cuts down, and it looks like a cartoon when like the Roadrunner runs away, where the outline of smoke of the shape of the Roadrunner stays, but the Roadrunner's gone. The tree falls, but there's still a big yellow cloud of pollen just hanging in the air right now. It feels like everywhere we're going. I mean, I don't know anybody whose voice is not scratchy.
It's
right
bad.
Now. And
it's bad.
And if your voice is not scratchy and it's perfect right now, and this pollen's not affecting you, I hate you.
You know what though? This is from what I can recall, Diesel, the worst it's ever hit me. I mean, usually I have a little bit here and there, but man, this year, like I feel like my head's on another planet right now. I don't know why. It's just hit me. I mean, I can't breathe. I feel like it is just it's brutal. It's brutal.
Have you tried waterboarding yourself with that saline spray?
No, I have not.
Yeah,
I will try anything.
The chemical spray, that's supposedly really bad for you. It's going to burn a hole in your nostrils and make its way all the way up to your brain or something. I don't know. I still do it anyway.
Don't want to do that.
But there's saline where you just spray salt water up your nose, and I guess that fixes things. Have you tried that?
I need to. I'll try anything. I take one Zyrtec a day. That's pretty much my game plan right now. And that's pretty much it.
Triplet.
Oh, God. Can you do that?
Probably not.
Probably
not smart.
Clemson baseball fans, if you are a Clemson fan, I want to remind you, coming up in about 20 minutes from right now, Tony Chufo, good friend of the show, good friend of mine. He was on the call last night as the color commentator for Clemson baseball. He serves in that capacity throughout the year. Also former SID down at College of Charleston. I want to get his thoughts on Clemson baseball. Diesel and I will try to gauge where this team and program is right now, coming up with him in 20 minutes. So if you are a Clemson baseball fan, turn it on and leave it on. Also, about 40 minutes from now, today's a big day. We haven't told you why it's a big day, but we'll tell you why at 5:45, like a big day. Real quick, before we get back into Hubert Davis, one texter on the Joy Law Firm text line earlier when I brought up the news today about Zach Rich resigning here locally as the head basketball coach of the Spartanburg Vikings. Texter says, wow, leaving a 5A job as a head coach to go back to Dorman as an assistant. What am I missing here? Well, look, fit matters and where you are matters. Being where I don't know the exact reasons, Diesel, but you and I both know, and we all know that being where you want to be is important, where you're happy, right? And sometimes you get your taste of a head coaching job, and you've got your taste, and you want to be at a program like Dorman, and I can't fault them for it. Dorman's a very rich tradition when it comes to basketball, so. I know it kind of sounds weird, but I don't think it's as weird as it sounds for somebody to go back to Dorman as an assistant. Dorman's the pride, they're the marquee program in South Carolina.
Think about that. How often do we talk about college programs stacking former head coaches on their coaching staff? Now Dorman is doing the same thing. Yeah, it's possible that, he got his taste of being a head coach, especially in this modern era of high school transfers and the conversations. Hey, coach, do you think I can get paid one of these days? Do you think we can get NIL here in South Carolina? Can you help us get that? They may have said, you know what, it's not for me. I don't want to do this. And maybe he just got a personal love for Dorman. He wanted to be back at Dorman. It's being a head coach is not necessarily all it's cracked up to be for every single person who becomes a head coach. Some people are kind of cut out of the cloth of being a coordinator, being an assistant. They can be very, very successful and very, very good at it. And that's just their niche, and that's where they want to be.
Yeah, and if you can go be an assistant under Thomas Ryan again, where Zach Rich was before he went to Spartanburg, it's a good place to be an assistant. It really is. the resources they have and the talent they have year in and year out. Obviously, I hadn't talked to Coach Rich about the exact reasons, and probably never will. But that's him personally. That's his personal news to share as of why he did leave Spartanburg. But now a big time 5A job in Spartanburg's open on the basketball front, and it'll be interesting to see who gets that job. That's right, Hubert Davis. Speaking of Hubert Davis, North Carolina fans want to hear from you. If you're not a North Carolina fan, college basketball fan in general, also want to hear from you as well. Text line, Joy Law Firm text line's open, 844-326-3663. The phone lines are open as well at 844-FAN-PHONE. Same number to text and call the show, 844-326-3663. Hubert Davis, Diesel, let's start where I teased when we came into this very segment. Is Hubert Davis, in your opinion, and Tolo's out there watching the show on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, the 108 Tolos watching the show, is he still a valued commodity? Is he a hot name? Is he going to be somebody that is at the top of the list now when it comes to head coaching vacancies in your mind?
1,000% yes. He's 55 years old, still a fairly young guy. Now, I don't know if he's going to be the right kind of fit for a program that is building. But that doesn't mean that programs that are building might not want to say, hey, Hubert, can you come show us what made North Carolina so successful? Can you come show us all the ins and outs and things that they were doing from an organizational level that made North Carolina so successful over the years? We'd like to get a little taste of that. Now, that's not to say that I don't know if you're alluding to maybe South Carolina or if you're alluding to someone else. It's not to say that Hubert would be able to bring South Carolina up to that level of 4 NCAA tournament berths in 5 years. But I sure as heck think he gets you a lot closer than where you are right now.
So how did all of this come down? The decision to fire Davis came from a recommendation from current AD Bubba Cunningham and executive associate AD Steve Newmark, who, by the way, Steve will take over the AD role Diesel on July 1. So that recommendation by the AD and the associate AD was accepted by Chancellor Lee Roberts on Tuesday, which was yesterday. Cunningham is moving into a senior advisor role, stepping out of the AD role. He met with Davis throughout the past few days to discuss Davis's plan for changes to help the program be more successful. So the outgoing AD is the one now meeting with Davis, Diesel, these past few days. And after evaluating his plan, Cunningham and Newmark, the AD and the associate AD, decided to recommend his removal to the Chancellor Roberts. Davis then called a meeting at his house to inform the team on Tuesday. Obviously a historic program after the loss to 11-seeded VCU. Davis is a winning coach, has been a winning coach. He's a 125-54 record, 68-30 in the ACC. You talked about his early exits, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he is still a good coach. Sometimes programs have expectations, don't match what they're looking for, or their current coach doesn't match their expectations, rather, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and like I said, I think he's going to be a highly sought-after guy. Unfortunately for Gamecock fans, I don't know if you're going to be able to make a move fast enough to grab him, right? I mean, we know Lamont Paris is coming back next year. I don't think that Jeremiah Donati is going to say, oh, you know what, let's go backwards on that deal. Let's go ahead and fire him so that we can go hire Hubert Davis, or make a push for a Hubert Davis. I don't think that's going to happen. So I don't know. It really kind of depends on what Hubert wants. I mean, he clearly had a tremendous amount of love for the University of North Carolina. He is, like we were talking about yesterday with Paul Maneri, he is a world-class human being, but it just translated to being a really good coach, not an elite-level head coach, especially at North Carolina. So, and it also hurts when your rival across the road is having the success that they're having. If Duke was making, round of 32 exits, Hubert Davis is probably still on staff.
We'll continue to look at names that North Carolina should go after. But first, let's go to the phone lines. 844-FAN-PHONE. Tom in Summerville. Let's see what Tom has to say about what happened at North Carolina. What's up, Tom? Tom, are you there?
Tom,
I feel like I barely hear Tom. Is the service in Somerville spotty today? Maybe Tom has us on mute and doesn't realize he's muted the call. He's probably back there yelling, Diesel, and doesn't even know it. Tom, you there?
Oh.
No, Tom.
Sorry,
wow.
Tom. Gotta hang up on
Tom,
you, Tom,
please call back. Please call back. 844-326-3663. Maybe there was a delay in getting the audio from Somerville to Spartanburg, Greenville, Anderson today, but phone lines are open. I do think, though, Diesel, when you look at the totality of it, North Carolina, I know I said this earlier in the show, they are still one of the best jobs. I don't want people to hear me what I said earlier and think that it's not one of the best jobs. It is. I just think there are more jobs that are more attractive now with the resources given.
Yeah, I look around the landscape of college basketball, and, there are some big names who have already said no. Brad Stevens is one of them. Let's see, Todd Golden down at Florida, he's getting his extension. I mean, is it possible? Now, this is maybe the next home run hire kind of pitch, but is it possible, Cole? Is it just unfathomable to say, what if North Carolina threw a Brinks truck at Dan Hurley?
Ooh.
Dan's done a phenomenal job at UConn. He gets them into the tournament year in and year out. But the Big East is a perennial three-horse race. What if he said, you know what, let's bring you down here. We're going to pay you some more money. We're going to give you a new challenge. And we're going to make sure that you're in this thing every single year. Because there ain't no way that you're going to finish outside the top 6 or 7 in the ACC. We're going to get you in every single year, no matter what.
Back to the phone lines we go, 844-326-3663. Nick in Brevard, North Carolina wants to weigh in. What's up, Nick?
This Hubert thing, it's, I was, not surprised, but I guess it just seems like more of a modern college thing. And, I'd love a Dan Hurley, but I just don't know if we can woo a guy like that to come to UNC.
Are you a UNC fan, Nick?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. So who's your number one? If you could have anybody you wanted, who would you hire?
Honestly, I would go after one of these hotshot NBA assistants. I don't know particular names, but just feels like the way the college game is moving, it feels like one of these guys that can go scout internationally and, really find the gems and mid-majors and even, bigger Division II schools and bring them in as upperclassmen. I feel like maybe that's the way to go.
What about Billy Donovan? Any interest there? Who's with the Bulls now, former Gator head coach?
Yeah, he was great in college, so maybe, but the college landscape's changed so much. And, he hasn't had much success with the Bulls. And I know that was the rumored name, but it doesn't throw me over the moon.
That's interesting. Nick, appreciate the phone call, by the way. Feel free to call in anytime.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Nick in Brevard, 844-326-3663. Billy Donovan's a name, Diesel, that I think we'll continue to hear until he removes his name. With the Chicago Bulls, right? You got to remember, the Bulls they're horrible. They're like tanking every year, it feels like. But Nick in Brevard brings up a good point. It's an ex-college coach that has been out of the game for a few years. Is that too risky? I think that's a great point from Nick in Brevard.
Yeah, I know you got to modernize your systems in college athletics, and that's why Bill Belichick was brought in to fix the systems at UNC football. But do those guys know anything about coaching in this modern landscape of basketball? No, they may know something about keeping high-powered players, highly paid players happy, but what do they know about attracting them in the first place? That's not even remotely what they do in the NBA. You figure out, where you are at the end of the season, and then you make contingency plans for what might happen in the draft. There's nothing like that in college basketball. I do wonder, and this would be one of those studies that have to take somebody with a bigger brain than I am, with a deeper memory than I have, to go back and look at modern era college coaches from 5 years ago to 15 years from now. How have they fared if they've come back from the professional game into a whole new world?
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of names we'll continue to hear be brought up. Mark Byington, Vandy's a name I think you'll continue to hear be brought up many times. And maybe, just maybe, Mark could bring one of the best point guards in the game with him next year, Diesel, to North Carolina. Tommy Lloyd, I think, is a name that you might hear a lot. Look, I think if you could somehow get Tommy Lloyd, you give him a blank check, right? I think that's my personal opinion on Tommy Lloyd, if you could lure him away from Arizona. But Arizona's a good job. They've got good resources.
Right.
Is Arizona, North Carolina still a huge step up, Diesel? I don't know that it is.
Well, the question is, do you want to live in the desert or do you want to live in the mecca of college basketball? I mean, I think that's the pitch right there. It's, do you want to live in the middle of nowhere? Do you want to have to drive 10 hours through the desert and get out an air hose and blow the dust out of your car grill every time you take a drive? Or would you rather be here where everything is?
I've been to Arizona. It's nice out there.
I know it is.
It is
It
nice.
really, really is. I mean, I'm just saying that's what my pitch is. I mean,
I wouldn't come.
Yeah.
I'd say, no, I like Arizona. I got
fair.
good players. I've got NBA players, you know.
That's fair.
There's no humidity in Arizona, right?
Yeah. No pollen either.
No, I don't know. No pollen, new cactuses. I guess you're right. You're right. I think there's a lot of names that are interesting. I do think Billy Donovan's interesting. I don't know, like you said, I don't know that he's the best fit. Otzelberger, I think, is going to be interesting. He's been one of the top defensive coaches in the country in the Big 12. He has the Cyclones rolling. I think there's some interesting names. Brad Stevens, you said he's already said no thanks. That was a pipe dream. There's some interesting names. I do think it's going to be fun this offseason with Will Wade potentially going back to LSU and now North Carolina. And does Kansas come open? I mean, my gosh, imagine if Kansas and North Carolina were both open at the same exact time. Are you kidding me?
Well,
It'd be huge.
And somebody did joke. I don't know how old Bill Self is off the top of my head, but what if North Carolina took not one but two coaches away from Kansas? Now that would just chap them in the worst way. Ben McCollum is a name you might hear come up. Grant McCaslin from Texas Tech, like you said. Otzelberger from Iowa State. There's some really good coaches that have made a really good name for themselves. That if the folks over at UNC feel like those guys fit the identity of the UNC brand, then I could see them throw a lot of money at those guys. I mean, none of those guys have gigantic buyouts. I mean, Grant McCaslin's buyout's not all that big. Ben McCollum's
Lloyd's is
buyout,
too big, I think, man.
Say it again.
Lloyd's is $11 million. I think his is probably $11 million, Diesel, for a buyout.
Yeah. I mean,
Think about that.
Then again, North Carolina, they've shown they're willing to reach, right? They've reached for a big splash hire in football, and this is the sport they quote unquote really care about.
Nate Oates.
Yeah, but his buyout's enormous as well.
It's even bigger. Let's see. I think his buyout's 11. It is 18 million, I believe, Diesel. Let me grab this phone call. I think this is Tom in Somerville.
It cost $18 million to get Nate Oates out of Alabama. We'll see what the buyout's going to go up to for Todd Golden in Florida. It was 16. I guarantee it's going to go up from there. I mean, those are the best possible candidates you can get. So
we'll see.
That's a gigantic financial hurdle, though.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Tom, up against the break. Got about 60 seconds. Your thoughts on Hubert Davis, Tom?
He's not a very good basketball coach, but I'll say this. North Carolina, enough with these Todd Golden. They're not leaving their job to go to North Carolina. Now, I'll say this. The one coach that North Carolina should hire is Mark Byington. Dude is a winner, and you can get him for Vanderbilt for, probably a little bit less than you can get the Todd Golden of the world. And you get Mark Byington in North Carolina, they're going to get rolling.
I like it.
If you could pull it off, Tom, would you want him at South Carolina? Hubert?
Hubert? I mean, no, because it's not that much different than Lamont Paris.
Oh, come on.
The coach itself is not the issue with South Carolina basketball. It is always going to be fun. Until they start pumping in $10 to $15 million a year for players, you could have Jack Bill Jackson coaching that team. It don't matter.
Tom, you're the best. We got to run. Thanks for the phone call.
Go,
Always a good one. Always a good one when you hear from Tom in
Love it.
Somerville.
Let's flip the script. Cole, instead of talking about South Carolina, let's talk Clemson here for a minute. Oof, what a ugly loss last night. Gave up a ton of late inning runs to Coastal Carolina. We'll talk with Tony Chufo from Clemson Baseball, the color analyst, about that very thing next, right here on the Fan Upstate.
For Fantone, this is Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson on the Fan of State.
We talk Clemson baseball and the shaky start they've had since getting into ACC play in this segment. Bringing on Tony Chufo for the first time. He covers Clemson baseball as the color commentator for part of the season and a former SID at College of Charleston. Tony, welcome into the show. First time we've ever had you on. Appreciate your time. Can you take us into a point in that game last night where you felt like the momentum was turning? You know, anytime a team gets hot in late innings, you think, oh boy, here we go. But sometimes you can stave that off. Did you know at a certain point, like, this thing is not going to go well for us?
Yeah, you know, through 6 innings, you're up 9-3, and you obviously feeling really good, obviously, because you know the team has just run through a little bit of a rough stretch at South Bend, and a lot of things they want to do well. They were doing well for 6 innings, but you know, the pop up obviously was a major factor. But even at 9-8, I felt like they were in control. And Danny Nelson, who came in the 8th inning, is going to be a very special pitcher in this program. He's got all the tools and, more importantly, the makeup. He's going to be a very special closer for Coach Backage in this program. But you know, I think he walked the leadoff man, and then I saw the bloop single to center, and that's when I went, because it reminded me of about 5 or 6 situations in South Bend where the Tigers did a lot of things right, and the Irish had a lot of soft contact and were just dumping these, you know, whether it be an infield hit or a bloop single or something just over the mound. And it just seemed like it happened 6 or 8 times in South Bend. And Bob Mahoney, who does the color with me when I do it, or Brad Owens, we were looking at each other when it happened. It's like, I can't believe that guy just dumped a base hit in the shallow center in a 9-8 game, and now you've got first and third. And it was kind of deja vu. Here you go, you know, all over again. And that's when you went, you know, this thing might not be in the bag. So, you know, it's unfortunate. You know, I've been around college baseball. I think my first college game that I worked was in 1988. So obviously you guys, I don't even know if your parents were born, much less you. But anyway, yeah, that's when last night I went, you know. And then the other part of that equation, guys, is that, you know, the kid they had on the mound, Darren Warren, you know, he had a split finger grip as he went into his glove. And so he's throwing him with a 3/4 split finger, and he's throwing it in the high 80s. And it's just darting down and in on the right-handed batters. It's starting off in the zone. And bottom line is he was phenomenal, you know, and it took that kind of outing from him over the final 3 innings. And Coastal was able to, you know, escape with the win. And something, you know, if they kind of turn their season around, not that they were having a bad year by any stretch, but if they go on this hot run, they'll look back to those final 3 innings. And then maybe we will look back on those final 3 innings and go, you know, that's the low of the lows for this team. And the highs was when Miami came to town and things started going our way a little bit.
Tony, it's Cole here. I appreciate you hopping on with us, man. You know, when you have a loss like that in the midweek game, obviously there's a lot of criticism on Twitter, on social media, from the experts out there after the loss last night for Clemson, where they did have a lead. Do you have any problem with the pitching staff and Coach Backage pulling the Warnick when they did? That was an area that got talked about a lot last night. Just little situations like that where it's easy for fans to cling to one or two areas or one or two situations and blame that for the loss for the Tigers last night.
You know, not at all. It never entered my mind. Well, it did enter my mind when he took him out. But immediately went to why he did it. I mean, first of all, I don't question anything this staff does, to be quite honest. Again, I've been around college baseball since 1988. Some great coaches, some great staff. This is a phenomenal coaching staff, and not just what you see in the bunkers, what they call the dugout, the bunker, but you see when it's what they do outside the lines to prepare these young men to go to battle each night. So I didn't question it at all. And the reason why is because in less than 48 hours, you've got the Miami Hurricanes coming to town. And so I think, and I didn't ask him this, it's just a total guess here. The plan was to get a lot of people in because you don't want to use your bullpen because let's be honest, obviously every win is important. You never want to lose a ball game. But Miami is, in my opinion, more important. And Lavernick's been outstanding. He had a little bit of a tough couple of pitches in Notre Dame that I'm sure he wants back. But for the most part, this kid is phenomenal. I mean, guys, he's throwing it's 95, 96 from the left side. So, no, I really don't have an issue. But, hey, also understand that everyone's disappointed. The players are disappointed. The coaches are disappointed. And certainly the fans are going to be disappointed. And you can't blame them. Everybody just wants to win and have a good time. And, unfortunately, I agree with what he did. When he took him out, I was, not that it matters who I agree with or don't agree with, but even though I'm doing radio, it doesn't mean I'm not a fan. It doesn't mean I want to win. And I'm pulling for our guys, right? And but when he took him out, I knew exactly why he did it, in my opinion, and I thought it was absolutely the right move.
So, Tony, how does Coach Bakich get these guys' heads screwed back on straight? I mean, he knows they're talented. They know they're talented. But how does he sort of push all the way out of their minds that thought that any bad play in a tight situation could be the catalyst for a collapse?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing you deal with young kids, right? And Bob Mahoney and I, we've done a number of games together over the years. We talk about it quite a bit because both of us combined have seen a lot of college baseball. And I don't know if there's a sport that's tougher on a student athlete. People often say if you go 3 for 10, you're in the Hall of Fame, right? You bat 300, but that's not accurate. The sport is so tough to play that you actually can go 3 for 30 because you get 3 strikes every trip to the plate. So in 30 swings, all you have to do is make contact 3 times basically. And then the point being, it's a very difficult game to play. And that's the tough thing with young kids because let's be honest, these are ultra talented student athletes that come to Clemson to play this game on the highest level in college baseball. And more than likely, they've never really been challenged in high school. I mean, you look at Ty Dowley's swing, do you think he was challenged in high school with that bat speed that he has? How about Nate Savoy? How about Jerem Purifier? I could go through the entire roster. But bottom line is, so they come here and they're facing adversity. And I don't think there's a sport out there that's going to test the adversity of an athlete more so than baseball. And keep in mind, I had a son that played professional baseball for 10 years. I know what it's like mentally to go through. Now, having said all that, gentlemen, there's not a better staff and more prepared staff in the country than Eric Bakich and his crew to get these kids mentally ready. That's where he separates. Guys, I have been around this game. Like I said, my son played pro ball, parts of it in the major league. I understand the mental side of this game and what it can do to someone if you allow it to happen. What separates Eric Bakich and this Clemson program and this coaching staff is what they do with these kids on the mental side of the game. Because if not, baseball will chew you up in an instant and spit you out. And that's why, and I've had this conversation with Coach, I'm a true believer in obviously the physical side of the game and being ready. But more importantly, particularly with baseball, is you have to be mentally tough because you are going to face adversity. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when, and hopefully it doesn't last long. And nobody, and I can't stress this enough, guys, I'm telling you, I've been around it, I've seen it firsthand, no one will have his team mentally prepared better than Eric. And this is what makes him the perfect coach for Clemson and what I consider the best coach in the country.
We're talking to Tony Chufo, very involved regularly throughout the season with the Clemson baseball broadcast. Tony, when you look at this team, this 4-loss stretch that they're on right now, obviously the mental side of it you've talked about very important, but do you look and see an area, whether it be the bats or whether it be the pitching staff, that does carry the blame for the past 4 games where the Clemson Tigers just haven't been able to get on the right track? And obviously when you open up ACC play with one of the nation's best in Georgia Tech, that's certainly going to take a toll on you. But where do you point to and feel like this team has to improve on, quickly as you talk about a good Miami team coming to town?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. And really, you can get a lot of these cues from Coach, and he's right. I don't think there's an aspect of the game where they're going to be satisfied. And I don't mean that in a negative way. What I mean by that is you're either growing or you're dying, right? Either you're getting it done or you're not getting done. The arrow's either pointing up or pointing down. And so I think every aspect of it, certainly defensively, is stuck out because you can just look at numbers, sometimes at errors and unearned runs and that type of thing. But I will say this, there were some plays early this season that the Tigers made when I was behind the mic with Bob, and we looked at each other and go, wow, he made that look easy, meaning the Clemson defense, whether it's Lichtenberger, whether it was Folksy down at third base or Purify or even Gaffney around the bag has been much better this year. We went, wow. A lot of people don't talk about the plays that you make that you probably shouldn't. So I think, defensively your numbers he wants to look at. From a hitting standpoint, you can never be satisfied. And I know Coach is working on some things, but I'm telling you what, there's a lot of positives. I know it's a 4-game losing streak, and the easiest thing to do for any fan or anyone is to go, woe is me and things aren't right. But I'm telling you, watch Ty Dallas. Look at last night in particular. Look at some of the pitches he did not swing at. He was swinging at those pitches the first week or two of the season. This kid has gotten so much better. Is he where he wants to be? Probably not. That's why he's going to continue to work. But you can see the progress he's made. And I'm going to tell you something. You know, I was with him for 6 games, 5 on the road. I don't know that I've seen a kid hit. He must have hit 5 or 7 balls, 400 feet or 390 feet to straightaway center that he had nothing to show for. So I'm really excited about him and what he's trying to do. Jack Crichton, to me, I just love his game. I mean, you got to love his game. So anyway, all of them are going to continue to work hard on hitting. The big thing with Coach is, look, early in the count, you want to do damage, right? You get to 2 strikes, and you're making sure you put the ball in play hard somewhere. You're not giving away the at-bat. You don't swing at the pitcher's pitch, particularly early in the count. He'll work on that. And then pitching standpoint, you know, a lot of what happens with coaching staffs early in the year is you just kind of go through your bullpen and you see who are the guys, right? Who are going to be the guys. I can tell you Lagurnick is a stud. Nelson's a stud. And I'll tell you another guy I was just thrilled with this weekend. And people looking at numbers may not see it, but I saw him pitch at Notre Dame, and it was Canuck. He looked like Canuck. And not that Aiden's been bad at all. He's been terrific. He always is. But people, the expectations are so high. But at Notre Dame, he fell behind 2 balls and no strikes at the first batter. And those are signs, even as an announcer, you're going, oh, that's not where you want to be. But he immediately got back into the count. And then from there on, he was strike one. And that's the big thing. He went 5 innings, 1 earned run, and 8 punch-outs, okay? Pitched extremely well. Sharman was fine. I thought Sharman was right on. But you can't have an umpire behind the plate. Not to say the umpire did a poor job, not at all. But you got to have someone that's going to give you a little, a ball or two on the outside corner or the inside corner. And for both pitchers on Saturday, I thought his strike zone was really tight. And that hurts a guy like Sharman because he's not a guy that's going to say, hey, here's 98 miles an hour. Let's see what you can do with it. He's going to go in and out, up and down, and he's got to get that quadrant of strikes called, and he did. And so when you're, when you're 1-0 and 2-1 instead of 1-2 and 0-1, it doesn't help a lefty of his. But I think he's going to be great. Got to love what Pittsworth has done. I think he's been really good as kind of the opener on Sunday. And, there's some guys down there that need to continue to work hard to get bigger or get better. Samuel was phenomenal at college at Charleston. Brendan Bennett's been great. I tell you the guy who stuck out to me that I really got a great look at over the weekend was Deion Brown. He went 3 innings and just really did a number at Notre Dame in the middle innings of Saturday's ball game. So, you know what? Despite being 4 losses in a row, and that's just part of the game, guys, I'm going to tell you, there are a lot more positives than negatives, and certainly everyone's got to get better. And I just hope at the end of the year, everyone looks back and kind of smiles on this, what I call a lull. I don't really believe in slumps. I believe, everyone at some point is going to face adversity. This team's doing it. But I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't want a guy in charge more so than Eric Back, because I think I truly believe in him and he'll get the job done.
Talking to Tony Chufo, he does color commentary for Clemson baseball. Now, Tony, I know this isn't necessarily your beat, but you just watched them play in a 1-game sample size. I'm sure you did quite a bit of scouting going into this game as well. For Coastal Carolina, it's kind of been, a standard bearer for baseball in the state of South Carolina. They got to the College World Series last year. What were your thoughts on a team that started off without maybe not the most impressive record at 17-6 coming into this game, or 16-7 coming into this game, but now it's 17-7? What are your thoughts on Coach Schnall's team?
Well, I was very impressed. They did a lot. You know what? I think the best way of putting it, particularly late in the game, very opportunistic. Okay, they despite being down 6 runs, they didn't lose their aggressiveness. They're going to run. They were 48 out of 55 coming in the game. You knew they were going to run. They got in situations down. They ran. They put the ball in play. If you go back to that 5-run inning, I don't know if they hit one ball hard. We were laughing in the booth. I don't know if they've hit one ball that was a solid hit in that inning. However, it doesn't matter. They scored 5 runs. I thought they stole a run to get it 9-8 when they got in the run down. And even at that time, it was like they just wanted to keep putting pressure and give them credit. I know people are truly down, but I think you have to really sometimes look at the opponent and see how they went about it. They had a kid on the mound the last 3 innings that could have pitched for anyone last night and been as dominant. There's not a lineup in America that could have hit Darren Horn and the way he was throwing last night. So I have only seen him pitch once, but he looked like Tom Seaver last night. But, yeah, I was very impressed. And I think that's what you have to do on that level. I mean, they're a very good ball club, and obviously they'll be much better when they get their pitching staff healthy. But I truly liked his aggressiveness. It reminded me, quite honestly, I spent 20 years at college at Charleston, and we had a great coach, former Clemson pitcher, and assistant coach at Clemson by the name of John Pulowski, who turned our program around. And there were many years, guys, where we at the college at Charleston, they say we, it's them. I haven't been there in 16 years, but when I was there, we led the nation in sacrifice hits and stolen bases. So that's the part of the game that I really enjoy watching. I thought Coastal was tremendous at that. And again, the word is opportunistic. They got one guy in the lineup that hits the long ball. In the first inning, he had a 2-0 pitch. He didn't miss it. He had a 3-run homer. And guys, other than that, when you went into the 7th inning, I believe they only had 2 hits, and the other one was a fly ball to center field because of the high sky. I think McClatty lost it, and the ball came out of his glove when he dove for it. That was their only 2 hits going into the 7th inning. So credit to them. I mean, really credit to them. A lot of ball clubs would have mailed it and said, you know what, let's get the food ready for the bus ride home, and that'll be the end of it. But they didn't, and it snowballed, and they found a way.
Tony, great stuff as always, man. Really appreciate you taking some time to hop on with us this afternoon. And I think you're right. Hopefully this ball club can turn it around soon. As always, appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Can I just say one thing?
Yes.
Fans, come out, support these kids. These are unbelievable young men that are working hard, and they're disappointed in themselves. But I think even more so, they're disappointed because they know how much it means to Tiger fans to win. And I can tell you, come out, support them, be loud, be proud. And let's have a good weekend against the Canes, and let's have a good weekend against Florida State in softball as well. How about that?
That's right. Tony, you are the man. Always appreciate you. Good stuff there, and a very, very in-depth analysis, Diesel, on Clemson baseball and what Clemson fans can expect this weekend. It's a good Miami team, like he said. Eric Bakich, Diesel's only lost 4 games in a row 3 times in his career at Clemson, so I expect him to bounce back. And boy, with the ACC, as tough as it is, you got at some point just put it behind you and what's happened. And you didn't look great against Georgia Tech, didn't look great against Notre Dame, didn't look great last night in those late innings, but I still think there's a lot of talent on this ball club.
Yeah, memory like a goldfish. That's what you got to do. Baseball's a tough sport. If you dwell on it, it's just going to keep on haunting you all season long.
Diesel, I've got 2 pieces of audio. I want to tell you why today's a big day for us, the show, but I've got 2 pieces of audio. Who did it better? This is gold, audio gold. Who did it better? That's next. hour number 3 right here on the Fan Upstate. Always appreciate you, Tolos, for turning it on and leaving it on as you do each and every day right here on the Fan. Diesel, I don't know if we mentioned this, but this is kind of what we do. We get so engulfed with sports. We don't really make it about us a lot, but we will for a quick 15 seconds. Today is our... Don't forget, you'll come home and I'll get upset with you. Don't forget, today is our anniversary, Diesel.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
What'd you get me?
March 25th. I got you a big present, but guess what? You're not here.
Oh.
So you don't get to see it, so you have to wait till next year on 25th. Yeah. I mean, what are we doing here? You didn't show up. You're at Ingles. I'm here in the Ingles Market Studios, and I've got you a big, nice gift, but you will have to wait until next year. Today is a anniversary. 2024, March 25th, 2024 was our very first wire to wire. Did you realize? I mean, come on, how awesome is that?
I didn't know that we were coming up on our 2-year anniversary. What's the 2-year? Now you probably don't know this because you're not a married man. What's the 2-year wedding gift? The 2-year wedding gift is traditionally cotton, which means we got to get each other something made out of cotton.
Okay. I don't know where to go with that. I don't know what kind of cotton clothes you're wanting there, but I will definitely note that. I'll definitely note that. We're now entering year 3. This is now year 3 after today, Diesel, since today is our anniversary. March 25th, 2024 was our very first show. So officially, as of today, you and I are on year 3 of the show. And we don't make it about us a lot, but I do want to say I really do appreciate all of those that listen. I know most of you, 98% of you, by the data, do not interact, and that's okay. Only 2% of your radio audience actually interacts with the show. But for all of you out there, I appreciate you. Not speaking for Diesel, I know he does as well. And every time I ever run into somebody that says they listen, it really does mean a lot. We were Diesel last week at Rigsby's, and we had J-Tez come up, and J-Tez shared a really awesome story with us about how he didn't listen to the radio station before, and he does now. And we, according to him, you and I had the opportunity to kind of get him back invested and interested in local radio again. So we don't say it enough, but we really do appreciate all those that do listen. Spartanburg, Greenville, Anderson. You guys are what make this show fun on our anniversary, and we'll continue to do so until they say, hey, you don't have any more money, and we can't pay you anymore.
You know, we got a heck of a crew of dedicated Tolos. They've taken that moniker to heart. Turn it on, leave it on, and they do it every single day. I mean, you know, we just had Rick and Greer drive down all the way from Greer to Easley to come and see us out here for the show. Now, I think he was after the $25 gift card, Cole, but too bad it's already gone. Brian Pettit, though. Brian Pettit came by. He's stopped by multiple of our live shows. Rick has come by multiple live shows. We got to thank, Corn Chip and Dan B and all the Tolos that make it a point to come out here regularly. I know it's a really difficult thing to get anybody to do anything these days, right? Because we all live such busy lives. It's hard to get somebody to change their plans for you. But that means a tremendous amount. And isn't it fantastic, Cole, how we've been able to meet a whole lot of new people, to make new friends that we talk to off the air. I mean, we're in group chat with some of our Tolos off the air, and it's like it's almost like the show never ends, and it's just so much fun.
It is. It's a blast, and again, you Tolos are the reason it is so much fun. I have 2 pieces of audio, Diesel. I want to get your thoughts on which is better, but we'll do that in the very next segment on top of what we have coming up at 6 o'clock. Because it's our anniversary today, I've got something that you and I both enjoy. And I want to know who did it better, Randy Moss or Steve Harvey. Randy Moss or Steve Harvey, I'm not going to tell you what they're doing here. Something you and I both enjoy. It's our anniversary. I want to know which one did it better. We'll do that coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. And
coming up next, Cole, you know how like people have extremely strong opinions about food? And especially for some reason, this is, like the chicken sandwich wars about 5 years ago at restaurants. People are so passionate about fast food French fries. So since we are going to be coming up on the Elite Eight after the games that are played on Thursday and Friday, I want to build a nominations list, Cole. So I'm going to need the Tolos interaction. A nominations list for the most elite 8 best fast food French fries. That's next.
Ooh. Well, Diesel, with it being our anniversary today, the Wire to Wire anniversary, and you and I now going on year 3, numero tres, if you will, of Wire to Wire, I thought it would be fun to bring these two pieces of audio, and these were, I think, both over the last couple of weekends, to the show. Steve Harvey is a name we all know. Randy Moss, Diesel, a sports name we all know. And there is something in common between these two clips of audio that you and I both love, and that is fishing, bass fishing. Now, I don't know. Have you heard either of these with Steve Harvey or Randy Moss, Diesel?
I have not.
Okay, good.
This is brand new to me.
That's very good. Very good. Good thing you haven't heard them because I want your live reaction. Steve Harvey and Randy Moss play-by-play of a big, and I mean 4, 5, 6-pound bass being landed in the professional bass tournament. This is not no backyard. This is not a backyard, pond contest. This is the Professional Bass Fishing League. And Steve Harvey, Randy Moss, both separately provided play-by-play. I want to know who did it better. Diesel, Tolos. Let's start with Steve Harvey. Here was his play-by-play of one of the anglers landing a nice bass. Who does it better, Steve Harvey or Randy Moss? First, Steve Harvey.
Pretty sure it don't. These don't even look like bass. They're so big. Don't say that. It's a bass. Just keep reeling, baby. It's hook set. Did you see that pro set right there? That was a hook set. Reel it, bring it in. That was the smallest one in the group. I'm not even kidding. Okay, well, to us, though, that could be quite different. Smallest one in your boat. And he's a big one. Yeah. I won a bass competition with my buddies one time. Please do this. 13 ounces. Come on. That's who you need to talk to at this point. Whenever you get your fish close to the boat, start calling on the Lord. Because that's when you need him most. Look at that. How small is that? Come on, boy. What you doing here? I have got to get that shirt. I don't know who made that shirt.
He's trying to hide that fish from us.
Look, what I told you wasn't small. What we looking at, Dylan?
It's getting dirty now. Getting real dirty.
Uh-huh. Don't hurt their feelings, Dylan. Just keep catching. Watch this here, 3-7. Watch this.
About another 6-pounder.
Come on, get up there.
6'3".
What I
Pulls
tell
out a
you.
4'3". Puts us to 26.8, baby.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Leaderboard yesterday was 21.
So, there's Steve Harvey. Your reaction to Steve Harvey's play-by-play for professional bass fishing. Is that not amazing?
I think Steve Harvey. I think Steve Harvey would be afraid to touch a fish. He talks. The biggest fish I ever caught was 13 ounce. I won a competition with 13 ounce bass. I bet you Steve Harvey couldn't even hook a worm, but he's great at play-by-play. He's great at play-by-play.
No. Have you not seen Steve Harvey is a huge bass angler?
Is he?
Huge.
What?
He's got ponds.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes, Steve Harvey has bass ponds. He has land, like big land.
I'm not arguing that. I'm sure he does. He's rich.
Well, yeah, that's true. You need to see some of the hogs that Steve Harvey has caught, Diesel. Steve Harvey, and you maybe didn't know this, one of his passions and obsessions is bass fishing. It really is.
Okay.
And Randy Moss, the same way. For those watching... I'm sorry.
It's been one of my lifelong dreams to have a piece of land big enough to have a bass pond in and start feeding the fish. I want to throw 50-gallon trash bags full of minnows out there and get those bass in there fat. That's what I want to do. Right now, I've got a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
And I'm on my way. I'm going to get to that pond one of these days. I can promise you that.
So Steve Harvey, for those watching the stream, Diesel, you can see there, this is one here recently that he posted. He is a big angler. Here's one. Yeah, it's good fish, right?
Yeah, it's not bad.
Smoking a pie, catching largemouth bass. He's a big-time bass fisherman.
What's your PB largemouth bass?
8 something.
Ooh,
8 something.
Pounds.
Yeah,
on a
8
pond
something.
or on a lake?
It was Lake Murray.
Okay.
Lake Murray. Yep. Now, Steve Harvey, would you say did a good job, bad job, great job on the play-by-play there?
That was good. I'd say that's a good job. Right.
Okay.
Like, we didn't get a ton of play-by-play. We got a lot of
more like
commentary,
reaction, right?
Commentary, but not a lot of play-by-play.
All right, who was better, Steve Harvey or Randy Moss, former NFL player, Hall of Famer?
This accent?
I know. Here we go. Also a big-time bass angler, by the way, in Randy Moss.
One more fish catch for me? Yeah. This was from about 50 minutes ago. Give it to me. All right. Okay.
So far, I'm in
Okay, Drew.
Baby bass.
Was the jerk bait he was using? Jerk bait. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Keep your pole rod down. Okay. He want to jump.
Got one hook.
Uh-oh. So he says barely hooked.
Oh my God, man.
Stay with him, Drew. Bring him out of there, Drew.
Dude.
Drew Cook, ladies and gentlemen. There he is, see? There he is.
Look at the size of that thing.
Ooh.
My
Okay.
God, where are we?
All right. It was a nice catch there. That is a big one. That's a good one.
Drew had Randy Moss and Steve Harvey. I think Diesel was the much better
Oh, yeah.
play-by-play.
Well, Randy
was okay.
He's a hype man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Get it out of there. Get it
Yeah,
out.
that's right. It wasn't anything spectacular from Randy Moss. I love his accent, though.
I do, too. I was expecting a lot more detail out of Randy Moss. He's a true, tried and true, in-the-wool country boy. I expected a lot more play-by-play thought process. What is the angler doing? Why is he doing what he's doing? Except we got more hype out of Randy than we got out of Steve.
I will say, though, Diesel, I don't watch as many Bassmaster Classic tournaments as I'd like to. I think they were just at Hartwell here last weekend before last. I don't watch as many as I used to, but if I knew I could wake up on a Saturday or even Thursday or Friday afternoon or Friday morning and watch a little Bassmaster Elite and have Steve Harvey and Randy Moss, no hate toward the guys who do it. No hate. They do a fine job. But there's just something about having polarizing figures like Steve Harvey and Randy Moss. They make it fun. I love it. Steve Harvey was the best.
Now, what we really need, Cole, we need Snoop Dogg doing play-by-play for Bassmaster Classic. I mean,
do you think Snoop Dogg knows what a largemouth bass is?
Probably not, but who cares? Have you not seen Snoop Dogg doing Animal Planet?
That's true. I have.
And he makes it. He anthropomorphizes those animals like they're gangsters in the ghetto. He's saying, "Oh,
he does.
He's gonna run him. He's gonna snatch that chain. You better watch out. He's gonna snatch that chain. Oh, look at him go!"
It's
I
funny.
love it. I love it.
It's funny. So we give the crown to Steve Harvey today.
Great. Yeah. It was a better clip. It was a better clip.
I think so. So congratulations to Steve Harvey. He wins the head-to-head duel on who was the better bass angler play-by-play, and it goes to Steve Harvey.
You mentioned, Cole, that we are celebrating today. I didn't know it was our anniversary either. Today is 2 years of Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. It's been a fun ride, and we've got another anniversary coming up here in 14 show days. I don't know exactly what date on the calendar that's going to fall on, Cole, but we're going to hit show number 500 in 14 show days. How about that?
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What did you say? How many more we need?
14. We are today at show number 486. So technically,
it should be April the 13th, a Monday. I believe it's going to be. Oh, you know what that is? You know what that is, Diesel? That is the Monday after the Masters.
Oh, how about that?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I already texted our boss to see if he's going to get us something. He said he would put in a ticket, which is Odyssey slang for we'll submit a request and it'll take 2 weeks to hear back from anybody.
Yeah, which means no, right? Which means no.
Exactly.
You can forget it. No gift for us. Show back up to work, you lousy bums. Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
Chris Mack, some new news. Chris Mack has accepted the head coaching position at the University of South Florida. He will step down from the head coaching position in Charleston at the College of Charleston. Diesel is the men's basketball coach. So one in-state coach heading south to Florida. Chris Mack has accepted the head coaching position at the University of South Florida. He was at Charleston for 2 years, where he compiled a 45-20 overall record. A very good coach, and that's a big-time job for Chris Mack.
Yeah. Congratulations to him going down to the American Conference, or I guess going up to the American Conference, as it were, but going down to Tampa, Florida. I mean, how about that, Cole? We're talking about failing upwards, right, or falling upwards from Charleston, which is beautiful, to Tampa, Florida, which is also beautiful.
I think I'd be good with either one of them. I do. Which one do you, if you're Chris Mack, and that's a good point, Diesel.
Where's his next stop going to be? Honolulu?
That's a good, maybe so. Which one would you like? That is a tough call. Tampa's beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
And Charleston, I mean, I love Charleston. I would move to Charleston tomorrow. I love it. I love Charleston. I don't know which one I prefer. I think over Tampa. Tampa's busy. I think I might let you.
But there's a lot going on in Tampa.
There's a lot going on. Yeah,
you got multiple professional sports. You got the Bucks. You got the Lightning. You got the Rays. The Magic's not far away, though. I mean, like, who's going to a Magic game, honestly?
Yeah. No, you're right. More professional sports would be intriguing, but I don't know, man. I love South Carolina. I love Charleston. But that's an interesting job opening now at Charleston. I saw some Charleston fans on Twitter who want Bob Ritchie, but good luck, right?
Bob's not doing that.
No. But I would imagine a lot of people want Bob Ritchie as well. We'll see.
I would be disappointed if Bob left Furman for a job like South Florida. Like, I understand that it's a bigger conference with bigger budgets and, in a bigger city. I get that. But I think Bob Ritchie is destined for bigger than that.
I think so, too. We talk about this a lot with Bob, with anybody, any coaches, any profession. Timing's so big. And timing's a big part of, people, obviously, Diesel, you have to be good at what you do to get big-time jobs. There's no doubt about that. But timing's a big part of it as well, man. Like, if you might have, like this whole Landon Powell, South Carolina thing. I mean, we all know Landon would do a good job, but timing's just a big part of it. And sometimes the timing works out. Sometimes the timing doesn't work out. And Bob Ritchie going to a new school, hopefully, like we said before, hopefully doesn't. Hopefully he stays right here in Greenville for as long as he can. I don't want to lose that guy, right? He's a good coach.
No.
Wofford fans might be yelling at the radio right now like, yeah, let him go. But we certainly don't want him to go anywhere. But it is. Timing's big.
As a fan of a team in the Sun Belt, I would love it for Kevin Schnall to take the job at South Carolina. I don't want to see a great program like Coastal potentially fall back. Now, I know that they're going to, if Kevin Schnall takes a job somewhere else one of these days, whenever that might happen, I have full faith that they would go hire another coach, maybe probably somebody out of his very own tree would be interested in keeping it going there at Coastal Carolina. But still, that's no guarantee that you're going to be able to keep up that high level of success. It's great for them to be able to have continued the success that they had before Coach Schnall with Coach Schnall.
But you know what's funny about that, and we talked about this a little bit on Monday when we were talking about Pulmonary Diesel. Kevin Schnall is making what, $550,000 a year, something like that?
Yeah.
If he were offered South Carolina, let's say for whatever, I mean, I don't know what the salary would be, 1.5, 2.5, whatever. He'd have a big pay bump, right? A big pay bump. And so everybody would say, well, if it's a $1.5 million increase, you have to take the job, right? You got to take it. Well, here's the devil's advocate. Here's the flip side of that. What if you don't? What if you say, hey, you know what? I could coach at Coastal for 20 years, not have the amount of pressure that you would in Columbia, right? Not saying they don't have pressure at Coastal. There is pressure. It's a great baseball program. But if you take the salary you're making at Coastal and you can say, hey, I'm going to bank on the longevity of me being here for 15, 20 more years and being the man, I'll make 2.5. I'll make 2.5 in just a couple of years, matter of fact, right?
Yep.
Give me 5-6 years, I'll make my 2.5 as long as I'm managing my money okay. I'll stay in Conway. I'll stay at Myrtle Beach, and I'll be one of the best ever at Coastal. Maybe not the best, but one of the best ever. And what a great job he's done following in big shoes, big footsteps. But you go to Columbia, you go to South Carolina, things don't go well, Diesel, you get your 2.5, but in 2 years, 3 years, you might be out the door. So I'm just saying, sometimes, people enjoy where they live and like what they do and manage their money well, and it's not always about a bigger paycheck.
Yeah, and how much does the legacy of what Gary Gilmore left behind matter to Kevin Schnall? Like, does he want to try to achieve something that in his mind would stand toe-to-toe with Gary Gilmore's legacy there at Coastal Carolina. That is a huge mountain to climb because Gary was incredible in his 29 seasons with Coastal. But what does Kevin Schnall say? You know what? If I win a national championship at Coastal, I've done what I came here to do, and I'll be willing to take another job after. I mean, how do you not answer the phone call when you see Baton Rouge area codes come up, when you see Columbia area codes come up, whatever jobs might be available at the time? The best are going to be calling.
Well, you do answer the phone, but I think the national championship piece of it's interesting. I think it matters. Not saying that money doesn't lure you away without a natty, but when you do win a natty, I think it does change like the DNA, the fabric of the mission in the first place. Dabo Swinney certainly stuck it out for many, many years after his 2 national championships, Diesel. And Landon Powell's a great example at North Greenville. He's got his natty, and he got it pretty quick, you know. So if a big school does come calling, maybe having a national championship under your belt does allow you to make decisions differently, because you do feel like, to your point, what you just said, you do feel like you've accomplished what you came there for. And with Landon Powell, I mean, it happened pretty quick in his first decade. And Kevin Schnall, I'm not saying he's going to win it all because it's incredibly difficult to win the national championship, but they're going to be in the postseason more times than not. So it's not far-fetched to say that Coastal won't make another deep run in a regional or super regional here anytime soon.
Well, just like we are Marshall, the whole speech of more coverage, less boards. It's less pressure, less responsibility, equal responsibility because you're the head coach, but a heck of a lot less pressure, a heck of a lot less, noise from the impatient fans and the impatient media in Columbia. They love him. They love Kevin Schnall in Conway. You go to Columbia, you start off with a tough season, and all of a sudden people are saying, did we make the wrong choice? Does this guy know what he's doing? Is he cut out for coaching at this level? All those things will come up. But, hey, you stay in Conway, people are happy with you. But, as we all know, finances usually win out these conversations. And Kevin Schnall's wife is probably saying, Kevin, you're an absolute idiot if you don't let them quadruple your salary. What are you doing? We love it here in Conway, but quadruple salary in Columbia is really nice, too. So we'll see.
That's a big part of it.
Tolos, Corn Chip, I did see that you messaged in on the topic. Nominations for the most elite, the best fast food French fry. We're going to come back to that tomorrow, because if we try to take nominations in the last segment of the show, we're not going to get as many Tolos involved in this thing. So we're going to hold off on that until tomorrow, Cole. But coming up next,
I don't want to do any of that. The French fry thing just makes me mad.
Why?
It just makes me mad.
You can't have them right now?
I hadn't eaten a French fry, and let me think. No, I'm serious.
I love French
fries. I love them more than you. I love them more than you. I like to eat a whole bucket.
Come on now.
Let me think. All kidding aside, I've been on this health kick. I bet I'd be maybe once this year. Maybe one time.
Let's go on the count of 3, Cole. Me and you at the same time. What would your nominee, your leader in the clubhouse, in your mind, for who should win the whole thing? Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Checkers.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Best fries.
Bro, not even
Best
close.
Fries.
Not even close.
Waffle fries, baby. Waffle
All right,
me
we'll get into this tomorrow, D.
Let's do it. But we've got to get into Gamecock football, Gamecock women's basketball, and a little more with Lou Kesson of the Greenville News. That is next.